Welcome back to the Writer's Room. On today's episode, we're talking the difference between classic horror and modern day horror. Did you guys notice the color change?
That's fucked up.
Oh.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Writer's Room, everyone. Today we're talking the difference between classic horror movies and modern day horror. I'm your host, Matt.
I'm Chrysalia. I'm Katie.
And I'm Michael, coming at you from HollywoodRedux.com.
That's
Be
right.
sure to participate in our Halloween Redux. You can click the link below to find out more.
Yes, giving away all sorts of fun prizes this month, so be sure to click that link in the description to find out how you can win one of our sweet prizes.
That's right.
That's right. But today we're talking about classic horror movies versus modern day horror and the differences between them. A lot of people call the old school horror movie directors the masters of horror. I mean, there really wasn't like a group before them for horror, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, besides books and things. But yeah. So we're talking about classic horror movies versus modern day horror and how they differ. I for one, like straight out of the gate, like I think overall it's just a totally different type of filmmaking nowadays. Everybody wants to do a lot more quicker cutting. You know, like classic films had half of the amount of cuts in them as modern day films. So that for me is one big thing that draws away from horror movies, where suspense and things should be, you know, it's just all really quick cuts and there's not really a lot of emotion. They're kind of forcing you what to watch instead of like allowing you to kind of like participate with the characters and things a lot of the time.
Yeah, you can't get lost in the scares at all. Cause they're just, here you go, that's it, boom, done, delivery done. Like, what's that? You can't really get lost in that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how my favorite Halloween would be if it had been fast-paced like that, cut very rapidly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have liked it as much.
I mean, look at
the new Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the original
Halloween
versus the remake, and you can see the exact thing I just talked about. Like,
there we go.
Like John Carpenter made Halloween, and you felt the stalker, you know, aspect of Michael Myers. There was a lot of just like him breathing and looking through the mask, or just, you know, his POV a lot of the time.
Right.
And you know, with that, you don't really get that in the Rob Zombie one. You get a lot more of just like, we're trying to make him even more evil and hillbilly
gory and just
over the top and as fucking stupid as possible, I guess. Sorry, Rob Zombie. I'm a fan of your films,
huge
but
fan, but
shouldn't have made those.
not my favorite.
But yeah, no, I mean, Halloween's a great example of that, where you've got these long tracking shots and, you know, they really like had these long takes happening. And I mean, the entire opening scene is a long take.
Yeah.
So, well, it's a couple takes, but it looks like one long take.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, and then,
scene.
So, but that was a good example.
Yeah.
I want to throw like the really classic horror movies, like Dracula and the Wolfman. See those.
Even slower cuts.
Exactly. Not only slower cuts, but we're talking about black and white.
Yeah.
So slow cuts, black and white, that's a lot to take in when it's like a story you're telling, you know? And those actually delivered so nicely, the horror films and the scares, that those are like my favorites. Those are my classics.
Yeah, classic Universal monsters.
You can't go wrong with that, dude.
Yeah. I mean, Lon Chaney and...
And it also talks about like the characters as well, you know? You can not relate, but you can get lost with the characters.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of those characters didn't even speak. Like, the Phantom of the Opera was a silent film.
Which was more of a struggle, like more...
I mean...
It involved the audience getting involved, you know?
Well, I mean, they had characters that you cared about, that you could sympathize with, because they were really just sad characters, you know? So you actually felt bad for the Wolfman and for Frankenstein and, well, the monster, and, you know, and Dr. Frankenstein, I guess, too, you know? But, like, you know, you just felt really bad for him. So, like, you were able to, like, kind of feel for them at the same time, get scared when they're, like, scaring away the townspeople, or, like, they're plucking flowers with that little girl by the, you know, by the little lake or whatever. And it's just like, you know, they're still monsters, but they have that still human quality somehow that you can connect with.
And you don't get that much with, like, nowadays, like, horror movies. Not really, especially the ones that involve monsters.
Yeah.
You know, it's, don't get me wrong, like, the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro was great, but it's still no classic horror Wolfman monster, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's just too much visual effects in the makeup there.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, even with Rick Baker being a part of it, I'm surprised how much
Rick Baker, you're the man,
visual
dude.
effects there were, because, I mean, that guy created the transition, really.
Legend.
Like, the best transition, you know. Obviously, you know, Slaughtered Lamb shirt representing American Werewolf in
right
London.
Over here, this guy.
You know, but yeah, too much CG. And that's another thing. I think CGI has helped. It's helped horror movies a lot, because you can do things like, you know, you don't have to spend a lot of time, you know, on certain lighting gags or things like that. You can just make them happen.
True. But
they've
I feel
also hurt the horror movie. They've hurt movies in general as much as they've helped movies, but but like in the horror movie, I feel like a lot of directors nowadays lean on the CG aspect, and it's just like, let's just make it a CG creature, or like for instance, Mama. Mama was a great movie until you saw the creature and it's all CG and it looked really dumb.
It takes away from it, you know?
So it really does. It pulls me out of it every time. So and that's one thing that really kills me with modern day horror movies is just this too much CG.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's great, but it's not always like the solution to everything.
Yeah.
You got to go practical sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think, Katie?
I think there's a tendency to, in like more recent horror films, to show everything as opposed to withholding some mystery, withholding some information. I think like
Jaws effect.
Yeah, I think we do the K-Files. We're rewatching a bunch of X-Files episodes. I think the X-Files does it really beautifully, where you hint at the monster, you hint at the threat, you see the shadows of it, and it's so much scarier than when you actually just see everything, like especially if it's a CGI something.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of that too is we just went and saw. We didn't review it, but we went and saw Blair Witch, and Wes Robinson, our boy, representing, doing a great job. But where that movie I feel went wrong, amongst a few other things, but where I think that movie really went wrong is they showed the witch too much. They showed the monster too much. The original showed the monster 0 times.
Yeah, which made it a lot scarier.
Exactly. When you can't see what's coming at you, it allows your imagination to just run wild on what is there. And especially if the sound design is good, it can really take your like tension and like fear level way up. And nowadays it's just like, let's just show it because people want to see the monster, because like we went to a test screening and they said they wanted to see more of it. So we throw more things in there, and it's just like, you gotta, like, I really wish, and that's the other thing, is I think studio influence is also another major part of the horror movie shifting in the way it is now, where it's just, they go by studio test audiences. You will never see a film that the filmmaker originally set out to, like, make, unless it's like Chris Nolan, or Martin Scorsese, and even he's going a little studio-ish sometimes with his films. So, like, when it comes to horror films, now they're just formulaic and they're like really crazy, which is why like films like It Follows, you see that and you're like, oh wow, it's a great movie, and it's like so retro. It's like, no, they just decided to make a movie the way they wanted to make a movie, which was like kind of how they used to make movies, where it was nice long shots. You got to sit and feel emotions with the characters and things like that. And then the scares came through, and they weren't just like, oh, let me look over to the left because I heard a move. Nope, nothing's there. Let me look back. Oh, here's your wallet. Like nothing stupid like that.
It wasn't your predictable like horror film, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it was just something that like, there's that feeling that you get when you're watching an old horror film that you don't really get nowadays with many films. And you might get it occasionally here or there. I feel like The Conjuring did that for me recently. Like the first, and the second one was good too. But The Conjuring was really good at doing that. And I feel like it's, James Wan knows how to make a horror film, period. But out of like the modern day directors of horror films, I think he's probably the best. He's consistently good with his horror. And you can tell he just has a good time. And like there's things that are super campy in his horror movies that still play as scary or get the horror fans to giggle, so.
Yeah. What would you say is your favorite classic?
Jeez. My favorite classic? Oh, it's tough.
That's a really hard question you just asked, man.
Yeah, well, she asked me that like a few weeks ago. She's like, what would you say are your top 5s? And I gave her a list of like 30 movies.
Yeah, like, I was like 5, dude.
We'll review that later.
Yeah, there's tons. I mean, if it's going straight horror, like I love like Dead Alive. Nice. Peter Jackson, New Zealand made, I Kick Ass for the Lord and stuff.
Yes.
I love gore. I love camp. Evil Dead 2,
Thank you for introducing me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. I introduced you to that.
Yeah.
The Chin, big hero of mine. Love you, Bruce.
Bruce, we love you here.
And I don't know why I did that like he was dead. He's still alive. He's thriving well. Ash vs. Evil Dead is coming back.
Oh my God!
It's already back. It's already back, and it's good.
Watch it.
Yeah, good stuff. But I like so much of the classic horror. Like if you look at my DVD and Blu-ray shelf, it's
No
3/4 horror, and the rest is like action movies and like 2 romantic comedies.
No joke.
But like. I love horror movies. I always have, and like I feel like maybe I grew up, and that's why I don't really like today's modern horror as much. And like taste changes, but like there's something about it where I just feel like it's the studio making a movie more, or they're trusting like what other people think instead of like letting the filmmaker take their budget, take their crew, and make the best movie they possibly can.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like the movies that are doing that nowadays are the ones that are independently made doing that, and then they get picked up or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we get to see the monster too much, like you said, Katie. We get to see the monster too much. We are forced too much at what we need to see nowadays. Yeah. Instead of us like going along for the ride with the character with Laurie Strode or
being stalked.
Yeah, I mean,
along with her.
Instead of doing that, we're forced to be just the spectator.
Let us
and
be
forced,
stalked.
Let us be stalked. Let us be scared. Let us put us in the eyes of the killer. Do some of these old techniques that like really stick with you and like freak you out, because those are the things that I think stay with people.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing a zombie film, like just don't show zombies eating things and like zombies walking around. Like George Romero made zombie movies where almost like a third of them are just shots of like fields filled with dead bodies. Nothing moving around, nothing scary, but just to show you that this is the world now.
Yeah.
This is the world we're in now for the next 90 minutes. You're going to be fucking scared at the end of that, or, there's something seriously wrong with you. So, I don't know. I just think, I think there was a lot of time. There's another thing I think that factors into movies nowadays. You're given bigger budgets, but a lot less time.
That's true.
And I think filmmakers need the time to make the film that you want to sell, studios.
Yeah.
So instead of the tail kind of wagging the dog like it's been for the last, 2 decades, where it's been the studio saying, this is the movie we want, go make it. It needs to get back to, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a Stanley Kubrick, I'm a Francis Ford Coppola, I'm a George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, I have made this film, you should learn how to sell it because it's going to make you a lot of money. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
And it's not anymore. So I think that's one major difference between the filmmakers in general, not just in horror, of yesterday and today. I think the filmmakers of today are not better or worse than the filmmakers of yesterday. I just think that they have a lot more shit they have to deal with, and they don't necessarily get to make the movie they want. Because even if they do and they turn in that edit's going to change 10 times before it hits the screen. And it's going to change probably another 2 times before it hits DVD and Blu-ray.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I guess you got to take them, when we get a good one, we got to be grateful. And we are.
Absolutely.
And,
we're going to enjoy it no matter what.
No matter what, I'm going to go see these horror movies. So it doesn't matter. So I'm still going to buy tickets. So you still got me there, Hollywood.
We'll be in those seats. No worries. No worries.
And if you're looking for any fun entertainment and horror on TV nowadays, you can check out the show that I've been working on for the last few months, The Exorcist on Fox. It's on Fridays at 9.
Watch it, guys.
Wow.
It's
Watch
so
it.
good.
It is
And let me know how you guys like it. It's I'm very interested to hear. I'm not that involved creatively, so I can't really do much, but I'm very excited to see what you think of the show because we're working really hard on it. So, but anyway, for the Writer's Room this week, it's going to do it for us. My name is Matt, and you can find me at Splashdown1 on all social media.
I'm Krizal. You can find me at Krizal on all social medias.
I'm Katie. I'm at K Moles.
I am Michael, and you can find me at What the Hess.
And of course, we're coming to you from HollywoodRedux.com, where we are celebrating Halloween Redux this month, giving away all sorts of giveaways. Click the link below in the description to find out how you can win one of those prizes from this month. And be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And check out that video right over there. It might be something
Right
you
next
might
to Mikey.
want to watch. I don't know.
Just click, please.
I hope you guys are enjoying Halloween Redux this year. We're having a blast bringing to you some of the funnest, most fun stuff in horror we can, and all of our giveaways. So we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.